Right now you might be asking yourself, why is Gary wearing that ridiculous shirt? Well, because it's 84 degrees outside in January.
That's like 29 degrees Celsius, bud.
That's right, here in Florida, the winter time never really comes, but for more than 1 or 2 days a year. But that won't stop me from giving you a great video today all about the 3 main reasons why I use Capture One in my daily workflow. Before we get started, let me remind you that I have a very fun photography-ish podcast called Photobomb. I co-host it with my friend Booray Perry, and I'll put a link to that in the description. It's also available anywhere podcasts can be found. Imagine like a drive time morning radio show where both of the hosts just happen to be photographers. So do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to this video so you get more, and hit the notification bell so you know when new stuff comes out. I promise it'll all be good and totally bearable to watch for just a few minutes at a time. Now, let's get going. Capture One is something I came to in the last year or so after using many different types of software, the big ones most especially, and I feel like it's a good balance for me, and it does all the things that I want it to do the way that I want it done. So I'm going to give you my reasons why I use Capture One and back that up with a little bit of information for you, and I will also give you a cool trick for if you switch over from Lightroom to Capture One that will help you out a lot, and a couple of things that I wish were a little better about Capture One. Okay, here we go. The first reason I switched to Capture One is the raw processing. Besides the software that comes with the camera, which I guarantee you no matter what platform you're on, it will look the best. Besides that, Capture One renders raw files with the best color accuracy and clarity that I've seen in any software. Now, I've gone from everything from using Digital Photo Professional with Canon, which looks great, but it's really slow workflow, to Lightroom, which has a great workflow, but the image color just doesn't work. Now, you can create custom color profiles for every potential scenario in your studio and every camera and go way deep into it, but I just really like it when a software works right out of the box. And those generic color profiles in Capture One are awesome and they just look good. I use them in combination with an X-Rite color checker target to do a custom white balance in camera in every single shoot. But when I do that, I pull the images in Capture One, and with a very small amount of adjustment, they just look great. The second reason I switched to Capture One is the flexibility in file organization. Now, originally in my photography career, I used Adobe Bridge and Camera Raw, and I loved it that you could just browse to any folder, organize your files however you want, move them around wherever, and all you got to do is point Bridge at a folder. But you have to use Bridge in conjunction with Camera Raw to do what Lightroom just does. And so I moved to Lightroom, but I found myself consistently frustrated by having to import everything into a catalog, and it just got more bloated and more bloated, or create a new catalog every 6 months or a year, or a new catalog for every shoot, and it became kind of a lot to keep track of. And so it really just wasn't perfect for the way that my brain is organized. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not a good fit for the way that I think and the way that I organize my files. So Capture One gives you the ability to create individual sessions and organize your files kind of however you want. And it works really, really well for me. But for Lightroom users, if you like that cataloging feature, it'll do that too. And you can organize multiple sessions inside a catalog. And it's just more flexible, and it just works. The third reason I switched to Capture One from Lightroom is the tethering. Now, I tethered with Lightroom for years, and I always made it work. But too many drop connections, too many problems, too much starting, stopping, and restarting the computer and restarting the software. And to be fair, Adobe has made some big improvements in that regard, but it still doesn't even carry Capture One's lunch as far as tethering is concerned. You plug it in, it works, it's easy to organize and export files. And if I'm shooting on location, I'm pretty much tethering. Anything commercial, group headshots, I absolutely rely on tethering, and Capture One is just the best all around. Now, there are other solutions and other ways to tether that are good and reliable. None, though, that work with the software that I already use in my day-to-day editing without having to employ another piece of software into the chain. I just find it to be the best, most reliable solution if you shoot tethered. Now, here's a bonus one for you. One of the things that a lot of people like about Capture One is that it's subscription based, or you can buy the whole thing. So if you don't quite have the money to throw down and spend a few $100 on this piece of software, you can also subscribe for a monthly fee, which is a lot more affordable when you're getting started. So that gives people the flexibility on how they want to spend their money. And not only that, but they make versions of the software that are specific to your camera system so that you don't necessarily have to pay for the entire suite if you're only a Fuji shooter or a Sony shooter. So that's pretty great that they are making things a little more flexible and a little easier for photographers. If you've looked at your bank statement recently, you know that the monthly payments for all the things you have to pay for are eating you alive. And so it's great that you have the option to do it this way. And that's a big win for a lot of people. So here are the ugly parts, the downsides. Now, Capture One is a great piece of software, and I think all around, if you encompass everything that I need to do on a daily basis, it works the best for me. And the problem is that Adobe is a huge company. And they're just faster at putting out updates. They're faster at new camera updates and new RAW file conversions. And you're going to get served a lot faster in that Adobe ecosystem than you are with Capture One. So you might have to wait a little bit longer, but I typically find that it has been worth the wait. The other thing is that Adobe ecosystem. If you are bought into the Adobe suite of software, they all work together really, really well. And although Capture One has the ability to edit in Photoshop and then save and keep it in your catalog, it's not as fluid as it would be if you were working with Bridge or if you're working with Lightroom. And not to mention, if you travel a lot and you work on the road, Lightroom has that really killer mobile system that you can just upload to your iPad, edit, and you get home to your computer and it's right there waiting for you. And that's pretty rad, and Capture One doesn't really have anything like that. And finally, probably the biggest problem with Capture One, the biggest hurdle is learning a new piece of software. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you're pretty familiar with Adobe products. Maybe you've looked at Capture One or even downloaded the trial to Capture One. And when you open it up and you just get that feeling like, I gotta learn a new piece of software. That's a terrible feeling. And that's the one I had when I first downloaded the trial and opened it. Now, a good friend of mine who is a Capture One user, who actually converted me to Capture One, gave me this one tip that really gave me a leg up in getting a hold of it. If you go into Capture One and you change the workspace around to what's called migration. Now, this is a sneaky setup that rearranges all the tools and palettes in Capture One to make it look and feel a little more like an Adobe product. Specifically, it's laid out a lot more like the default in Lightroom. So if you switch that over, it's going to feel more familiar and learning it is going to be a lot easier. Now, I'm going to be coming up with some more videos that are going to go in depth into my Capture One workflow and into some of the things that will help you get a better handle on it more quickly. So do me a favor, like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified as soon as those videos come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.